Welcome everyone for the Planning and Strategic Initiatives Committee for May the 12th. We have a pretty light agenda before us, just one item. And before we proceed, are there any disclosures of pecuniary interest? All right, seeing none, there are no consent items. I'll just quickly make a remark for the delegations. To all delegations, the city values encourages participation, dialogue, in a democratic process that occur in council and committee meetings and through written submissions, correspondence. It is important that these interactions remain respectful towards other members of the public, staff, and council. In cases where dialogue is not respectful or a delegate interrupts councillor, staff, or other delegations, makes derogatory statements about councillor, staff, or others that are disrespectful, or uses hate speech or language that is considered harmful or defamatory, the chair may, or likely, interject and take necessary actions to maintain a respectful and inclusive environment for everyone, which would involve removal from the meeting. One last reminder, delegations are permitted to address council for a maximum of 5 minutes, which will be displayed on the screen in front of you. When there is 30 seconds remaining in your time, you will hear a small audio tone that will signal that there will be a second tone at the completion of your time, and the microphone will turn off shortly after the exceeded 5-minute mark. Lastly, please do not take offense if following your presentation there are no questions from council. This is council's time to really listen and reflect upon the opinions and ideas shared with us from our community members. And also, as a reminder, this is an advertised public hearing matter under the Planning Act. This is a formal public meeting to consider applications into the Planning Act in accordance with the Ontario Planning Act. Only the applicant or the owner of the land affected by the planning applications, a specified person or public body, and or the minister may appeal most decisions. If you do not make verbal submissions to the committee or council, or make written submissions prior to city council makes a decision on the proposal, you may not be entitled to appeal the decision of the City of Kitchener to the Ontario Land Tribunal and may not be added as a party to the hearing of an appeal before the OLT. To understand your rights of appeal, if any, or for further clarification regarding appeals, please see the Ontario Land Tribunal website. Before we move on to item number 5.1, I just want to point out to the committee that in our gallery we have illustrious students from the University of Waterloo who are, I believe, third-year planning students, so one more year to go, and hopefully many or some will consider the City of Kitchener as future employment. I will say to you, if as you're doing your orientation with the local area, the City of Kitchener continues to exceed in all planning perspectives and growth, inclusivity, and more importantly, in having a broad housing strategy. And I think it's all to do with a phenomenal staff team, our planning department under Mr. Stevenson's leadership, and Mr. Reedman as well, who's the general manager. And I think it's the cohesiveness of our staff and council who continue collectively making great decisions for future development for the City of Kitchener. So hopefully you will find this enriching. I think it'll be a small item, but some of these meetings can take upwards to hours and hours. Hopefully this one will not, but still hopefully it will be an enriching experience for you all. All right, with that, item number 5.1 is the official plan amendment application, zoning bylaw amendment application for 4450 Arlington Boulevard. Mr. Bateman, I think you are presenting. Other staff are in attendance as well. And just for the committee, for your attention, we did have written submission from Heather Hillier, so please do reflect on that as well. Mr. Bateman, you have your allotted time. Please proceed.
Good evening, Chair, committee members, staff, residents, and planners from the University of Waterloo, or future planners from Plan 346 course. My name is Brian Bateman. I'm a senior development planner, and I've been tasked with this application, and I'm very pleased to be bringing forward a planning report recommending approval of the official plan amendment, zoning bylaw amendment, that would allow for the development of a 16-unit multiple dwelling in a stacked townhouse format with 8 parking spaces. This is a picture of an aerial photo of the site and surrounding area. The subject site is outlined in red. It's located at the northwest corner of Weber and Arlington. And I think it comprises two properties, 44 and 50 Arlington. It contains two detached dwellings, and these are proposed to be demolished for a greater intensity of existing residential use. And I think from the aerial photo, you can quite see the distinction of the very stable lotting pattern to the north side of Weber Street, or sorry, the east side of Weber Street versus the commercial lotting fabric on the west side. And that presents some opportunities for this property in the sense that the broader neighbor does contain a mix of commercial and low-density residential operations. It's near a drugstore. It's actually right across the street. And there are two grocery stores within walking distance. In addition, Weber Street East is a high-frequency bus route that connects to many transit stops, station stops within the city. Here is the conceptual site plan. This slide shows the proposed conceptual site plan. It's a 3-story multiple dwelling. Again, as I mentioned, containing 16 units. There are 8 surface parking spaces and 16 bike spaces. These are the conceptual building elevations. This is really just showing the frontal view. I won't spend a lot of time other than to say that it is a very contemporary style being proposed. That staff feel will fit quite nicely within the existing stable neighborhood. Implementation of that plan requires both an official plan amendment and zoning bylaw amendment, as I mentioned. I think it's important to note that they're not changing the land use category here. It's low-rise residential. It's remaining low-rise residential. What the OPA is for is to add a site-specific policy because they're asking for a little bit more floor space of 0.84 floor space ratio on the site that kicks in the official plan amendment. Approval of the official plan amendment will allow for the proposed zoning bylaw to move forward, and the zoning bylaw amendment requests a change from what's existing is Res 2 under bylaw 90 or 2090 or new bylaw, sorry, to Res 5, which is low-rise residential 5, with a site-specific provision 429 and a holding provision 112. And the Res 5 zoning would permit the use of a multiple dwelling that Res 2 does not. And the site-specific provision 429 would implement provisions for reduced parking. They're asking for 8 parking spaces for 16 units. And that increased floor space ratio that I mentioned in the official plan amendment, it also gets implemented through the zoning, and a reduced interior side yard setback. I think opportunity. So the subject property is an existing low-rise residential corner property. I think that's important to note, with 2 detached dwellings going to a more intensive low-rise multiple residential use within an established neighborhood. It represents a compact, compatible, missing middle, low-rise residential development within a neighborhood that has transit services, and infrastructure to support the intensification at this location. Will contribute towards the city's residential unit inventory and is consistent with provincial, regional, and city policy direction. Highlights and conclusions. Staff is recommending approval of the official plan amendment application, and that again is to add a site-specific policy to allow for 0.84 floor space ratio. It's recommending approval of the zoning bylaw amendment, and that's to change the zoning from Res 2 to Res 5. That's to allow for the use of multiple dwelling and establish a site-specific provision 429 for the parking, for reduced parking, to increase the floor space ratio and for the reduced interior side yard setback. A holding provision is being added, 112, and that's for final approval of a noise study that's required, given its location. And lastly, the official plan and zoning bylaw amendment applications demonstrate good planning principles and are consistent with provincial, regional, and city planning policies. So thank you very much, and I would be pleased to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you, Mr. Bateman. To the committee, we'll hold questions up until our delegation, and then we'll come back to staff. Proceeding to delegations, we have Zayed Kashif Al-Giata. Yeah, please. Just come to the podium. You have, Zayed, 5 minutes to make your presentation. Hopefully I pronounce your name somewhat okay, but you can correct me.
My name is Zaid Kashif Al-Giata. First of all, Chairman Singh, members of the committee, thank you for the opportunity to speak in support of this application. My name is Zaid Kashif Al-Giata from K-Smart Associates. We're the planning consultants on this file. I would like to inform the committee that our client, Brandon Corman, is also in attendance and available to answer any questions as needed. Mr. Bateman has provided an overview of the applications, agency comments, and staff recommendations. We're seeking an official plan amendment and zoning bylaw amendment to permit the proposed development, which consists of a proposed building that is close to 9 meters or 30 feet in height for 3 stories. It will be consisting of 2-bedroom, 2-bathroom units, rental units with 16 units in total, and will be a 5-minute walking distance from multiple transit stops. The proposal represents the missing middle transit-oriented development that the city has sought where appropriate and is in line with city policy. These applications also reflect our request for approval of this proposal in principle, with the final details to be finalized at the site plan stage. We wanted to also address resident comments at and in the aftermath of the neighborhood meeting in the areas that they were made. So, with regards to comments for traffic implications as a result of the proposed development, as Mr. Bateman said in his staff report, the property is at the corner lot on Weber Street and Arlington Boulevard, with traffic being unlikely to seep deeper into Arlington Boulevard. And for a neighborhood in transition, this missing middle housing form is an appropriate scale with regards to traffic impact on the area. With regards to comments on grading and drainage, a functional servicing report and servicing and grading plans were provided to and approved by the city, which deemed it satisfactory. We'll continue to work with the city at the site plan stage to finalize these plans. In terms of comments regarding the parking, on the proposed parking on the property, the proposal is in line with city policies which promote transit-oriented development. The proposal represents a prioritization of transit-oriented development as a missing middle solution oriented away from car use. After parking comments were raised by residents at the neighborhood meeting, Paradigm Solutions was retained to prepare a parking study on the number of spaces proposed. Discussions with city staff regarding parking were ongoing prior to the meeting. However, after the meeting, Paradigm was retained. The study that they prepared found that a 0.5 spaces to units ratio can be supported based on city policy, access to transit options, and the provision of bike parking spaces. Unit rentals will also not be tied to specific parking spaces. The tenants will have the option to obtain a parking space if needed and as available. In terms of garbage bin locations, we received a comment regarding this matter of the location of the proposed garbage bins on site. Currently, they're located at the rear of the property adjacent to Arlington Boulevard to facilitate truck pickup. The comment regarding the location was heard and considered by the project team. However, it was determined that the proposed location by the exit to Arlington Boulevard was the most optimal for truck movement purposes. There was also a comment about the proposed fence as part of this application. We can confirm that the fence will be on the applicant's side of the property and will be maintained by the applicant. In summary, the proposal represents a missing middle transit-oriented housing solution in a neighborhood in transition. In our opinion, the development represents proper planning and that is consistent with provincial, regional, and city planning policies. Thank you for the opportunity to appear before the committee. We're happy to answer any questions at this time. Thanks.
Thank you, Zaid. We do have a few Members of council, Councillor Chapman.
No, mine's for staff.
Okay, well, okay. So you'll have to keep back in afterwards. Councillor Deneau.
Thank you, Chair Singh, and thank you for your presentation. The bike spaces, the bike parking, is that going to be inside the building or outside?
So that is proposed on the eastern side of the building, just by Arlington Boulevard.
But outside?
Outside, yes.
Okay. And it's secured or just,
So there will be options. So we'll have a set of secure lockers, but there will also be a number of open bike parking spaces.
okay. I'm wondering, because of the location that it's in, it is close, like you're stone's throw away from Weber. You know, I know Paradigm said that 0.5 parking was adequate. You know, I think in some of our MTSAs, we require zero parking requirements. Being it's so close to public transit, you know, is there any thought of reducing that further and increasing the bike allotment?
Well, those details can be discussed further at the site plan stage, of course, but in our, preparation of this proposal and in our dependence on the studies provided as well, as part of the discussions and workflow of the project team, we felt that this was an appropriate starting point for parking spaces, and then that can be later explored and discussed at the site plan stage.
Okay, no, I appreciate that. My last question, is there any outdoor amenity space?
So there is a small sitting area on the adjacent to the outdoor parking spaces on the east of the building, just along Arlington Boulevard.
So what will that constitute? Like, is it a couple picnic tables, a barbecue?
It'll be a bench, a seating area almost, and like under the shade of a tree over there. And due to the size of the property in that area, it'll be a little smaller, but it will be provided still.
Okay, I guess I'll go back to, my comment before, because of these folks not having a backyard, if we could somehow to manage to decrease the parking ratio, and I can't believe I'm saying that, but also by increasing the amenity space for the people that are living here, I think, that hopefully that'd be a fine balance. So I guess that's something you can take away with your client and see what you can come up with. But otherwise, it's a fantastic location, and thank you for bringing it forward.
Thank you.
In a different direction. So I was like, what? No, but I hear what you're saying. I think those are good points, just to guide you though, because you think that there is an avenue for them to reorient or reprioritize between green space or amenity space and bike parking. The zoning is a site-specific zoning, so it does outline 50%. So if through the site plan process, they want to do any less, as you're suggesting, they'll have to go back through a committee of adjustment. If you want to make an amendment lowering that, that's really your prerogative. I just wanted to guide you that way. All right, Councillor Schneider.
Thank you, Chair Singh. Thank you so much for coming in and presenting this to us. We're just wondering if you could go a little deeper on, there was one resident comment who lived behind it on Pine Meadow and about the drainage. Could you just maybe explain a little bit more about how you've addressed the drainage concerns that he brought up?
Certainly. So we've had our engineering staff work on the grading and drainage on the property as well, providing the functional servicing report as well as the grading plan and the servicing plan. And so we've got that back and forth that has been going on with the city, and that's been approved, and they've looked at it, and staff have been happy with that, the solutions provided for that. That being said, as the site plan application unfolds and as things move forward and details get finalized, those will be finalized in conjunction and coordination with city staff to make sure that they're approved and up to the highest standard needed.
Okay, and will these units have balconies? It kind of looks that way from the drawings that I see in our report.
Sorry, could you repeat that again?
Will these units have balconies?
Yes, yeah, they'll have cantilever-style balconies, yes.
Okay, so they can sit outside and enjoy the nice summer air. Okay, thank you.
All right, well, that seems everyone to Zaid. Thank you very much. Okay, and that's okay. We'll come back.
Me to address that?
Yep.
Councillor Singh, if I could address the stormwater management in a bit more detail.
Sure. Yeah.
My name is Steve Jefferson. I'm the senior planner with K-Smart Associates and supervised Zaid and his work on this file. The stormwater management was completed by our co-workers at K-Smart Associates. There were questions from the start about where the stormwater outlet would be because there are no storm sewers on that section of Arlington. So that was, again, part of the balancing off of the footprint of the building and the parking area and the green space. So there are going to be underground storage chambers with infiltration to be able to take care of the surface water. So it's designed to keep the impact of the water on the property itself, not have any impact on any of the adjacent properties, and then also have the benefit of groundwater infiltration with those underground storage chambers. Okay, thank you.
All right. Councillor Michaud?
Yes.
Yeah.
Could you mentioned the type of balcony, what's it called?
A cantilever style balcony.
So could you describe that for me? What is that?
Just means it sticks out, but go ahead.
Basically, like it'll just kind of, if you step out to it, it'll just kind of hang without any pillars supporting it from the
Oh, I
bottom.
see, okay. Thank you.
Thanks.
Okay. Questions? Thank you, Zaid. That's everyone. Questions of staff? Councillor Chapman.
Yeah, I just have one question regarding the zoning. So it's being proposed to amend the zoning bylaw from Res 2 to Res 5. What's being permitted or proposed under growing together for this property?
It's not part of growing together, but go ahead.
Sorry, through the chair, I just didn't quite catch the
Well,
last
I'm-
part of that question.
Yeah,
Sorry, Councillor Chapman.
my question is, under growing together, what would be permitted on this property?
Right now, it is Res 2 in the new bylaw. So it's basically singles and semis, multiple, and up to 4 units are allowed.
Mr. Bateman, I think the question is, and I know the answer, that this area, I believe, was not part of the study
Oh,
for
yes.
growing together.
Yeah,
The question
correct.
is this
Sorry.
part of the growing together study?
No,
And
no,
if it
sorry.
is, what was it addressed as? Yeah.
Sorry, through the chair, correct, it is not part of growing together, Councillor Chapman. This is outside that area.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, all right. Those are all the questions of staff. I'll look to get a mover for the item. Okay, as a ward councillor, I'll go to Councillor Schneider. The item is moved. Seeing no others to comment, all those in favor? Opposed? And that carries. Thank you, everyone. And that is the only item. And no, not all applications are this easy. And on top of it, I'm glad that the committee did ask some very good questions, gives a point of things that really are addressed and matters to constituents when the councilors hear from them, as well as, I'm sure you guys are all aware of this, but this is a standing committee, and upon this approval, it will go to council meeting, and it will be ratified in the council meeting. All right, meeting adjourned. Thanks, everyone.